I never thought a single night could unravel everything I thought I knew about my marriage. I'm Melanie, trapped in a life of cold silences and empty routines with Scott, my husband of 18 years, in a house that feels more like a tomb than a home. But tonight, as I slipped into a daring burgundy dress and followed him into the shadowy unknown of a secluded mountain estate, something shifted. The air was thick with secrets, the flickering firelight revealing strangers whose gazes stripped me bare, and Scott, watching it all with an unreadable intensity that sent chills down my spine. What did he want from me in that moment, and why did his cryptic words promise an even darker game ahead? There's a certain stillness in the way a house can hold its breath, as if the walls themselves are waiting for something to shatter the quiet. I've felt that every day for longer than I care to admit. My name is Melanie, I'm 43, and I've been tethered to Scott, my husband of 18 years, in a marriage that feels more like a contract than a connection. He's 45, a man of sharp edges and silences, and together we've built a life in this 2-story house in a sleepy suburban neighborhood. But calling it a home would be a lie. It's more like a museum, everything polished, perfectly placed, yet so devoid of warmth that I sometimes catch myself shivering even on the hottest days. I spend my days upstairs in a cramped office, piecing together designs as a freelance graphic designer. The hum of my computer is often the only sound I hear for hours. Scott, on the other hand, is a financial analyst, always buried in numbers at his downtown firm. He leaves before the sun fully rises and returns when the sky has already darkened. Our evenings are a ritual of precision. Dinner at 6:30 sharp, the same rotation of meals I've cooked 1,000 times. We sit across from each other at the dining table, exchanging the kind of small talk that feels scripted. "How was your day?" I ask. "Fine," he replies, his tone flat, his eyes barely meeting mine. There's no laughter, no spark, not even a fleeting glance that might hint at something deeper. It's as if we're actors in a play we've performed too many times, each line delivered without feeling. After dinner, Scott retreats to his recliner in the living room, a glass of bourbon in hand, while I clear the table. I've caught him watching me more times than I can count, his gaze heavy and unreadable across the room. It's not desire, not anger, just this strange, expectant look, as if he's waiting for me to say something, to do something, though I haven't the faintest idea what. I've stopped trying to decipher it. Instead, I move through the motions, washing dishes, tidying up, all while feeling the weight of his stare on my back. It's unsettling, like being studied by someone who already knows every flaw, but won't speak them aloud. The truth is, I'm lonely in a way that cuts deeper than I can explain. I feel invisible, not just to Scott, but to myself. There was a time when his touch could set my skin alight, when a brush of his hand against mine would send my heart racing. Now, that's a distant memory, replaced by a polite distance that feels as wide as an ocean. We sleep in the same bed, but there's an unspoken boundary between us, a cold expanse of sheets that neither of us dares to cross. The absence of intimacy, of any kind, has left me hollow, yearning for something I can't name. I've tried to bridge the gap. Tonight feels different, like the air itself is charged with something I can't quite grasp. I'm standing in front of my bedroom mirror, the dim light casting soft shadows across the room, as I slip into a deep burgundy dress that Scott picked out for me. It's been years since I've worn it, the fabric clinging to my curves in a way that feels almost foreign now. I run my hands over the smooth material, my reflection staring back at me, a woman I barely recognize. The neckline dips lower than I'm used to, and the color is bolder than anything I'd choose for myself these days. It's as if I'm stepping into someone else's skin. Someone braver, someone who isn't afraid to be seen. My fingers tremble slightly as I adjust the straps, a mix of anticipation and unease swirling in my chest. Where are we even going? Scott's been so cryptic about this gathering, only telling me it's important, that I need to look my best. His insistence feels like a command, not a request, and I can't shake the feeling that there's more he's not saying. I take a deep breath and head downstairs, each step heavier than the last. Scott is waiting at the bottom, dressed in a crisp black suit that fits him like it was tailored just for tonight. His dark hair is neatly combed, and there's a sharpness to his posture that makes him look almost untouchable, but it's his eyes that stop me cold. Those piercing, unreadable eyes that linger on me as I descend. They trace the lines of the dress, slow and deliberate, and my stomach twists with a strange cocktail of nerves and something I haven't felt in years. A flicker of forgotten heat. It's as if he's seeing me for the first time in ages, and I'm not sure if I want to shrink under that gaze or meet it head on. He doesn't say a word, just offers a small nod, but the intensity in his look speaks volumes. I feel exposed, vulnerable, and yet there's a part of me that craves whatever this moment is stirring. We step outside into the cool night air and climb into the car without exchanging a single word. The silence between us is heavier than ever as we drive, leaving the familiar glow of our small town behind. The road winds upward into the mountains, the darkness outside the windows growing thicker with every passing mile. I can barely make out the shapes of trees lining the highway, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching into the black. My hands fidget with the hem of my dress, the fabric bunching under my restless fingers, while Scott's grip on the steering wheel is steady, almost too calm. His fingers tap a slow, rhythmic beat against the leather, a habit I've noticed when he's deep in thought, or hiding something. Every now and then, he glances my way, his lips curling into a faint, secretive smile that sends a shiver down my spine. What does he know that I don't? I want to ask, to break this suffocating quiet. As Scott and I finally pull up to a grand secluded estate nestled deep in the mountain's embrace, my pulse quickens. The gravel crunches under the tires, a sharp sound against the eerie quiet of the night. He cuts the engine, and for a moment, we just sit there, the weight of the unknown pressing down on me. Then, without a word, he steps out and comes around to open my door, his hand extended. I take it, feeling the familiar roughness of his palm. But there's a new tension in his grip as he leads me toward the towering double doors of the house. They creak open before we even reach them, as if someone inside has been waiting for us, and a wave of warm, flickering light spills out into the darkness. We step into a dimly lit hallway, and I'm immediately struck by the atmosphere. The walls are lined with ornate paintings of shadowy figures, their eyes seeming to follow me as we pass. The air is thick with the scent of aged wood and something faintly musky, like old secrets clinging to the very fabric of the place. My heels click softly against the polished floor, the sound echoing in the narrow space, and Scott's hand tightens around mine, guiding me deeper into the unknown. My mind races with questions, but my voice stays trapped in my throat, held back by a mix of fear and curiosity. The hallway opens into a spacious room, and my breath catches at the sight before me. A roaring fireplace dominates the center, its flames casting flickering shadows across deep leather furniture and heavy velvet drapes that hang like dark curtains over the windows. The room feels alive with a strange pulsing energy, and I notice the people immediately. 13 men, ranging in age from their late 20s to early 50s, scattered throughout the space. Some stand near the walls, their silhouettes sharp against the firelight, while others lounge on plush armchairs, their postures relaxed yet expectant. They're all dressed impeccably, some in tailored suits, others in dark, refined casual wear, and as we enter, their attention shifts to me. Some meet my gaze with a quiet intensity that makes my skin prickle, while others glance at Scott, as if seeking some unspoken permission. My heart thunders in my chest, a wild rhythm I can't control, and I feel the weight of every pair of eyes on me, peeling away the layers of the burgundy dress, of my carefully constructed composure. Scott releases my hand, and I feel the loss of his touch like a sudden chill. He moves with a deliberate calm to a leather armchair near the fireplace, settling into it as if he owns the room. His expression is unreadable, a mask of stone, but his voice cuts through the silence with a steadiness that unnerves me. "Tonight, you won't just be mine," he says, his words hanging heavy in the air. I freeze, confusion and fear spiking through me like lightning. My lips part to protest, to demand an explanation, but before I can find my voice, he adds, "I want to see the real you." The statement lingers, cryptic and loaded, and I'm left reeling, my mind scrambling to make sense of it. Before I can process what's happening, a tall man with sharp features and dark, piercing eyes approaches me. His movements are slow, deliberate, like a predator sizing up its prey, and I feel my breath hitch as he stops just inches away. He reaches out, his hand finding my jaw, tilting my face up to meet his gaze. There's a jolt, a spark of something I can't name, something raw and electric that courses through me at his touch. I should pull away, should demand to know what this is, but my body betrays me, rooted to the spot. Another man steps forward, shorter but with an equally commanding presence, his fingers tracing lightly along my collarbone, sending shivers down my spine. And then it begins, a wave of presence, of contact, as more of them close in around me. It's sensory overload, a storm I can't escape. The warmth of hands, some gentle, some firm, brushes against my skin, igniting parts of me I thought had long gone cold. Low voices murmur around me, their words blending into a haze of sound that I can't quite grasp. My heart is a drum in my chest, pounding so hard I'm sure everyone in this room can hear it. The air feels thick, charged with an energy that both thrills and terrifies me. I'm caught in this whirlwind of sensation, a tide pulling me under, and yet, through it all, my eyes keep darting back to Scott. He's still there, seated in that leather armchair by the fireplace, a constant anchor in the shifting chaos surrounding me. One hand rests casually on the armrest, fingers curled slightly as if holding on to some unspoken thought. The other hand grips a glass of amber liquid. Whiskey, I'm guessing. Tilted just enough to catch the firelight as he takes slow, measured sips. His posture is relaxed, almost too composed, like he's watching a performance he's seen 100 times before. But it's his eyes that pin me in place every time I look over. They're sharp, unblinking, locked on me with an intensity that cuts through the crowd. There's a faint smile playing on his lips at times, a subtle curve that I can't read. Is it amusement? Satisfaction? Or something darker, something I don't want to name? My stomach twists with the uncertainty, my mind racing with questions I can't voice. Did he orchestrate this entire night? Was this his plan all along, to bring me here, to watch me unravel in front of these strangers? Or does he feel betrayed by what's happening, by the way I'm caught up in this storm? Maybe, just maybe, this is exactly what he wanted. To see me break free, to witness a side of me I've kept buried for years. I don't know. And the not knowing is tearing me apart. Every few moments, I steal another glance at him, searching his face for answers, for any hint of what's going on behind that stoic mask. But he gives me nothing, just that piercing gaze and the occasional sip from his glass, the liquid glinting like molten gold in the dim light. Around me, the atmosphere continues to swirl, a dance of fleeting touches and whispered words. A hand brushes my shoulder, light but deliberate, sending a shiver racing down my spine. I feel the warmth of breath near my ear, a low murmur I can't quite make out, and it stirs something deep within me, something I've suppressed for far too long. My skin prickles with awareness, every nerve alight, and yet my focus keeps snapping back to Scott. He's the center of my gravity, even now, even in this storm of sensation. I notice the way the other men in the room seem to defer to him, their eyes flicking toward his armchair every so often, as if checking for some silent signal, some nod of approval. It's subtle, but it's there, and it only deepens the unease gnawing at me. What power does he hold over them? Over this moment? Over me? My chest tightens with the weight of it, a mix of dread and a strange forbidden thrill that I can't shake. Inside, I'm a mess of contradictions. Part of me is swept up in this newfound freedom, this rush of being seen, of being desired in a way I haven't felt in years. It's intoxicating, like a drug I didn't know I craved until now. But another part of me, the part that remembers the vows I spoke, the promises I made to Scott all those years ago, is screaming. What am I doing to our marriage? What have I already done? The guilt is a heavy stone in my gut, dragging me down, even as my pulse races with exhilaration. I think of the cold expanse of our bed at home, the silence that stretches between us night after night, and I wonder if this is the breaking point, the moment where everything we've built crumbles to dust. Or is it something else, a twisted kind of rebirth? I don't know, and the uncertainty is a blade, slicing through every thought, every feeling. I want to run to Scott, to demand answers, to beg for forgiveness or understanding, but my feet won't move. I am standing in the center of this grand, shadowy room, the echoes of the night still reverberating through me. The last of the men steps back, his silhouette blending into the dim edges of the space, and a heavy silence descends, broken only by the restless crackling of the fireplace. The flames throw jagged patterns of light across the walls, and I can feel the heat of them on my skin, though it's nothing compared to the fire that's been kindled inside me. My legs tremble beneath me, barely holding me upright, and my entire body hums with a raw, electric energy, a mix of exhilaration and vulnerability that leaves me feeling stripped bare, even now that I'm alone in the center of this storm. My breath comes in shallow bursts, my chest tight with the weight of everything that's just unfolded, and my skin still tingles from the lingering memory of touches that danced on the edge of forbidden. I glance around, half expecting another wave of intensity, but the room remains still, the air thick with unspoken tension. My eyes find Scott again, as they always do, drawn to him like a compass needle to true north. He's still in that leather armchair by the fire, but now he shifts, rising slowly with a kind of deliberate grace that makes my stomach twist. He sets his glass down on the small table beside him, the clink of crystal against wood sharp and purposeful, cutting through the quiet like a blade. Then he starts toward me, his steps measured, each one echoing in the cavernous space. My heart slams against my ribs, a wild, erratic rhythm that I can't control, as I watch him close the distance. His face is still a mask, unreadable as ever. But there's something in the set of his jaw, the intensity of his gaze, that makes me feel like I'm being seen in a way I haven't been in years, maybe ever. He stops just inches from me, so close I can feel the warmth radiating from him, smell the faint, familiar scent of his cologne mixed with the smoky undertone of whiskey. His eyes search mine, holding me captive in a long, unbroken moment that feels like it stretches into eternity. I want to speak, to ask what this all means, to demand answers for the chaos of the night, but my throat is tight, my words lost somewhere in the whirlwind of my thoughts. Then, without breaking eye contact, he reaches for something. A soft wool blanket draped over the back of a nearby chair. His movements are slow, almost reverent, as he unfolds it and steps even closer, draping it around my shoulders. The fabric is heavy, comforting, and as he adjusts it, his hands linger at the edges, brushing against my arms with a tenderness that catches me off guard. A rush of warmth floods through me, not just from the blanket, but from his touch. Unexpected, unfamiliar after so long, yet so achingly needed. It's as if he's wrapping me in more than just wool, as if he's offering a piece of himself I thought I'd lost forever. Then he takes my hand, his grip firm, grounding, and I feel the roughness of his palm against mine, a stark contrast to the softness of the moment before. He leans in, his face so close that I can feel the heat of his breath against my ear, and my entire body tenses in anticipation. When he speaks, his voice is low, a whisper meant for me alone, but it carries a weight that shakes me to my core. This was just the beginning. Next time, there'll be 15. I freeze, my mind stumbling over the words, trying to grasp their meaning. Next time? The implication hits me like a tidal wave. There will be more. Another night like this, and he's already planning it, already envisioning a deeper plunge into whatever this is. My thoughts spin, a chaotic mess of shock and curiosity, and beneath it all, a strange, unexpected gratitude begins to bloom. This night, as overwhelming as it was, wasn't a betrayal to him. It wasn't a fracture in our already fragile bond. It was something else, something he orchestrated. A deliberate act to shatter the walls that have stood between us for so long. As Scott and I leave the grand estate behind, the weight of the night clings to me like a second skin. I'm in the passenger seat, the soft wool blanket still draped over my shoulders, its warmth a quiet comfort against the chill of the early morning. My fingers trace the frayed edge of the fabric absent-mindedly, the repetitive motion grounding me as the mountain roads unfold before us, now bathed in the pale, ghostly light of dawn. The sky is a muted gray, streaked with faint hints of pink and gold, as if the world itself is waking up, unaware of the storm that's just raged through my life. The hum of the engine is the only sound between us. But this silence feels different. Not the heavy, oppressive void I've grown so used to, but something charged, electric, brimming with thoughts neither of us dares to voice. I steal a glance at Scott, his profile sharp against the dim light filtering through the windshield. His hands grip the steering wheel with that same steady calm I've seen 1,000 times. But there's a tension in his shoulders, a subtle rigidity that betrays the storm I know must be brewing inside him too. What is he thinking? What did he see in me tonight that made his lips curve into that faint, enigmatic smile back at the mansion? Was it pride, possession, or something I can't even begin to name? My mind replays every moment of the night, the flickering firelight, the weight of unfamiliar eyes, the rush of sensations that danced on the edge of forbidden. I can still feel the echoes of it all, a lingering heat beneath my skin, a reminder of how I was pulled apart and pieced back together in ways I never expected. I'm not sure what to feel as I sit here, the road stretching endlessly ahead. There's guilt, of course, a gnawing ache in my chest that whispers of vows and promises made long ago. I think of the quiet nights at home, the cold expanse of our shared bed, and wonder if I've crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. But beneath that guilt, there's something else, a newfound sense of self, raw and unpolished, like I've unearthed parts of me I buried years ago under layers of routine and resignation. I felt seen tonight, truly seen, in a way that both terrified and exhilarated me. And Scott, he was the architect of it all. Did he know this would happen? Did he want to awaken something in me, or in us, that we've both ignored for too long? The car winds down the mountain, each turn a slow unraveling of the distance between where we were and where we're going. The trees outside blur into streaks of shadow and light, and I let my gaze drift to the window, though my thoughts refuse to settle. I keep circling back to that moment by the fireplace, the way Scott's eyes held mine, the weight of his whispered words still hanging in the air. Next time, there'll be 15. The promise, or is it a warning, loops through my mind, each repetition stirring a mix of dread and curiosity. What does he mean by it? What could possibly come next after a night that already shattered every boundary I thought we had? I don't have answers, and the uncertainty is a tight knot in my stomach, pulling tighter with every mile we cover. As we near the familiar streets of our suburban neighborhood, the first rays of sunlight creep over the horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet houses. Scott pulls into our driveway, the gravel crunching under the tires, a sound so mundane after the intensity of the night that it almost feels surreal. We don't speak as we step out of the car, the silence between us now a living thing, pulsing with everything left unsaid. I follow him to the front door, the blanket slipping slightly off my shoulder as I move, and I clutch it tighter, as if it's the only thing tethering me to this moment. Inside, the house feels different, still a museum of polished surfaces and perfect order, but now charged with a new energy, as if the walls themselves sense the shift that's taken root in us. Scott moves through our routine with a strange, unfamiliar rhythm, and I find myself mirroring it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.